Okay, so what were we discussing?
We'll start XML pad you told us to download.
Okay, so did you install some XML pad?
Yes.
Okay, so let me share my screen. So what are the data models that we have? Quick recap of data models.
Corporate data model, succession data model.
Hmm. Corporate data model, succession data model.
Job, I think.
Job. So I've told you yesterday, success factors data models are very important. You'll be getting questions in all the interviews that you face on Employee Central. Okay, so let's go to the third step, which is defining the corporate data model. We're in third step now, defining the corporate data model. So corporate data model is about the foundation objects, defining the foundation objects. So where can we download and upload corporate data model? Corporate data model can be downloaded either from provisioning or from instance. Okay, so let me show you from the provisioning first, and then we'll do it from instance also. Now log into provisioning, click on the company name, and then scroll down to succession management. Under succession management, you will see here import export data model, which is succession data model, country specific succession data model, corporate data model, and country specific corporate data model. So these are the four data models that we have now. We don't have HRIS propagation, we don't have event reason, we don't have workflows because we have migrated. Okay, but these data models are to be uploaded here in provisioning. So let's go to corporate data model. You see here option of import the file and export the file. You can import and export the file here. So if you have your file ready, choose the file and upload. But if you want to download the file, go to export and then submit. This will download the XML file. Okay, so this is the way you do it from provisioning. But if you want to do this from instance, you log into instance. All of you will be given access to instance today, if not given. Okay. Now, once you log into instance, search for corporate data model. This is the global search bar. It's called global search bar, and search for corporate. It shows import export corporate data model, import export country region specific XML for corporate data model. Sorry, this is country specific. Now let me go to corporate data model. Go to import export corporate data model. Okay. Now select the option you want to perform. You have import and export. What do you want to do? You want to import or you want to export? Then if you want to import, you have to choose the file, put some comments, and then import. At the bottom, you have import option. I want to download the data model first. So click on export and export. Savarina, can you go on mute, please? I hear some background noise. If you have anything to ask, you can unmute. Okay. So now I have downloaded XML pad. Sorry, data model. Corporate data model is downloaded. Let me hide this. Now my corporate data model is downloaded. Let me go to the data model. Okay. So this is in the downloads. Right click. You can open with edit with Notepad++, or you can also open with XML pad. Now I have XML pad in my system. So let me open with XML pad. So when you open any data model with XML pad, okay. Now the good thing in XML pad is you have different views of the code here. One which is source is a coding view. It's a code view. Then we also have grid view. Same data model, you can have a look of it in the grid view. Now each of this would be split into separate sections kind of thing. Then you have table view. You can view the entire code in the table structure, and you can also view it in the preview. On the left hand side, you can see the document outline. If you want to go to a particular element, you can just click on the element. It shows you which element are you in. Okay. Now, if you look at the code, first let's start with the source view, which is the code. This is starting from corporate data model here. And you see the blue line, it starts from line number 0005. And the blue line, it is starting from here and going till end of the data model. And this is the ending of corporate data model. The highest element in data model is your corporate data model, the starting of the corporate data model and closing of the corporate data model. Now, if I want to see the description, if I place my cursor on description, the blue line, if you see, it says it starts from line number 6 and it ends in line number 6. That's why it is showing, the blue line is showing only for 6, line number 6. Then next you have HRIS element. These are all HRIS elements. So all the foundation objects are called HRIS elements. Now HRIS element, first element. On the left hand side, you see this is highlighted. HRIS element, you can have only the labels. And after labels, you scroll down, these are the labels in different languages. Because SuccessFactors supports around 30+ languages, the labels are defined in different languages. And after labels, you have fields. You see, I've placed my cursor here on field. So it is starting from here and goes till the end of the field. Now the field is ended here. Another field starting from here, and it ends somewhere. Okay. Now all of these things, what we do in the code view, you can also see or use this in the table structure as well. The good thing in XML pad is you can see the code in table structure. You go to table view. Here, corporate data model, because I have placed my cursor on description, it is showing on the description here. Then you have HRIS elements. There are 17 elements. There are 17 HRIS elements. You expand the HRIS elements, you will see the entire code in this table structure. This is the table. Okay. Now, first thing that we have in data model is the objects, HRIS elements. Each element has got an ID. This is the ID of element, location, pay range, pay grade, and so on. And you cannot change the ID, or you cannot create any additional foundation objects. These are the standard 17 foundation objects that SuccessFactors has given. And you cannot modify them. You can modify them, but you cannot create any additional or a custom foundation objects. And every element will have a ID, which is used in the backend. And what you see in the front end is the name of that element. So this is the ID, and the name of the element is mentioned in the label. So what do you see it as? You see location group, location and group. There is no space between location and group, and L is small here. Okay. But if I expand the labels, you see here labels showing 39 different languages. Standard SuccessFactors has 39 languages. For each and every field or the element, we have the labels maintained in 39 languages. That's why when I have switched my language, system was showing the field labels in that particular language. And all of the foundation object related labels are coming from corporate data model. Now expand the labels. You see here the location group. The first language is a default language. One of it is the default language, and the language, all the languages that SuccessFactors support. That means 38 different languages. Now the default language is, for any particular language, for any particular country, if you have not maintained the label, they will see the default label. They'll see the default label. Let's say for this country, if I have not maintained this, they'll see the default label. Anywhere, if you have not maintained the label in a particular language, system will show the default label. For Arabic, if I have not maintained the label, then it shows the label in English, which is the default. English US is the default language. Okay. Now, where do you see this? Now, location group, L is capital and G is capital here. Okay. Similarly, any object that you take, pay grade. You have here pay grade. Okay. And expand the labels. You see here, pay grade. Now, I don't want to call it as grade. I want to call it as something else. Let's say I want to call it as band. So go and change the label here to band. On the front end, if I go and see, and all of these foundation objects that you see in corporate data model are maintained in manage, organization, pay, and job structure. They have a navigation called manage, organization, pay, and job structure. You see here, you type the 3 letters of a word, system gives you the probable search. Manage, organization, pay, and job structure. You'll be maintaining the data here. Defining is done in the corporate data model. Maintenance part is done in manage, organization, pay, and job structure. That means if you have to create grades, if you have to create locations, if you have to create pay ranges, any of the object that you want to maintain, you can do that in manage, organization, pay. Create new. Here you see these are the elements. These are all foundation objects or HRIS elements. What you see in the front end is the label of the element. If I go to grade, pay grade, this is the label what you see, right? But here we have changed it to band, but we have not uploaded this, right? So let me save my file and go to instance, import, export corporate data model, go and import, sorry, go and import. You choose the file, and put some comments. Grade label. Okay. Just to know what you're doing, just put some comments, then import. It says corporate data model has been uploaded successfully. Now duplicate the screen, right click on the tab and say duplicate. Okay. Now this is the duplicate. I'll just refresh the screen. Now you go to create new. What do we see here? We see it as a band. Earlier, it was showing as pay grade. Now you see pay grade ID. This is a field. This is the element, foundation object. It is showing as band because I have changed it here to band. Okay. Now this thing can be changed from the source view as well. You just place your cursor here and go to source. It takes you to the HRS element pay grade. Okay. The element ID is pay grade. The label is changed to band. The default label is changed to band. Table view. Clear on the labels? Just change it back to pay grade. Yes or no?
So Venu, if we cannot, because we have to learn a little bit coding for this, all these things, because
Did I do anything here in coding?
No, that's what I'm like, we
No.
can do it in table view, right?
Hmm.
No need to go to source all the time.
Source, sometimes you'll have to go to source, I'll tell you. But for now, whatever that we have discussed, you don't have to do anything in the coding.
We can do everything in table view.
Hmm.
Most of the.
Most of things.
Okay.
Okay. Clear on IDs and labels? ID,
Yes.
label. For any element, you want to change the label. Against the element, you expand the labels, change the label.
So all the labels can be changed in XML pad only. It cannot be changed in
No, we cannot do.
instance.
No, we
No.
cannot.
Okay.
So if you want to enable any different language,
Hmm.
should we do it at the
No.
XML?
If you want to enable a language,
Yeah.
you can do that, but again, you need to add that language in many other places, which is very important, which is very difficult. There are thousands of fields,
Oh, okay.
thousands of fields. Now, each and everything has to be changed. Now, this is to be changed, this is to be changed, and this is to be changed. In one screen itself, you'll say 100 different labels. So all
So
of
what
these
is
things
the
has to be
other way of changing the default language, say from English to Arabic? So if you want to change that,
Okay. Now you click on the people profile, the profile of the profile icon of the user that
okay.
has logged in. You go to settings.
Change the default from
Under
there.
settings, you have the language here, change language.
Okay.
You go to change language and then change to some other language.
Okay.
So we can add the languages, more languages here from provisioning, right?
Yes. From the provisioning, you'll have to enable the languages that your customer want to have. Okay.
Yeah, hello, Venu.
Yep.
So this XML pad is used for corporate data model or all other 6 models also, like country specific?
Any data model can be accessed through XML pad software. This is a software which can be used to open the XML files.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm talking like for this, all these 7 models, we need to use XML pad or any other.
It's up to you. You want to use Notepad, you can do that. You want to use WordPad, if you're confident in using WordPad, yes, you can do that.
Okay. No, I'm talking like in this 7 model only, the XML pad will be used or any other place it will be used also. Means in coming classes, I'm talking about.
No, we don't have, firstly, we don't have 7 data models.
Success and data metal, country specific STM, HRSI propagation, these are
So do we have HRS propagation? What did I say yesterday?
transferring data from one object to another.
No, that's fine. But what did I say about HRS propagation? Are we using HRS propagation now?
No,
Why?
business rule.
It is migrated to business rule. Then where will you get this data model to open in XML pad?
We need to practice actually during weekend. We can able to practice more because of the office and tight schedule.
There's nothing to practice here. It's so far now XML can be practiced. Now the making changes in the data model, those can be practiced. But whatever that we have discussed so far, there's nothing to practice. It's
Means
just
to
have to,
study deeply.
yes.
We have to little bit wait for weekends because of the tight schedule.
So
I
these
mean,
four
we
data.
sorry, Venu. We only need to make changes in the XML and then import and export. That's all we need to do.
Yes,
Right,
only
for this
that
data
too,
model.
only if you have a requirement from your customer to make some changes or make change to any of the object. Okay.
Okay.
So mostly 99.9% your customer will not ask you any changes here in corporate data model. Why? These are the elements what a consultant maintains in the backend. Your customer will give you the grades that are to be created. They are not worried what fields you have in each of these elements. Okay. Clear on ID and label?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So next, after IDs and labels. Now, what did we discuss yesterday here? The first we have the highest level element is corporate data model. And then we have description. And then we have HRIS element and the labels of the elements. Okay. Till here we are done. Till the labels of the elements. Then next is your HRIS fields. Each element contains fields. Now location group contains the 76 fields. Geozone contains 77 fields. Location contains 79 fields. Pay range contains 81 fields. So against each element you have the fields. You have the fields defined. First let's go to location group. There are 76 fields in the location group. Now I go here, create new location group. How many fields do we see? How many fields do we see here? 1, 2,
5.
3,
Five.
4, 5, and this is also a field. Effective date 6.
Okay.
But here, HRIS fields, it says 76 fields. You expand all of those fields. For the fields, the attributes are maximum length of each field. What is the maximum length? ID of the field. Visibility can be either both or none. Required can be either true or false. And then label of the field. Each field, you can maintain the label. So for how many fields the visibility is set as both 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The 6 fields, we have the visibility as both, and rest of the fields, the visibility is set as none. You see, this is none. That's why we don't see all the other fields. Now, these are the standard fields what we have, and other than the standard, we have all custom fields. Now, custom, string 1, string 2, string 3, and so on. Custom string allows you to input text and a number. So there are 20 custom strings. And then date fields, we have 10 date fields. We have 20 long fields, and then we have 20 double fields. And none of these fields are enabled. So that's why we don't see those fields in the front end. We only see 6 fields which are enabled. And how do we enable a field? By setting the visibility to both. Now here, custom string 1 is enabled, both. Now I'll make it as none. Okay, required, it is true. When you're changing the visibility to none, you change the required also to false, because you cannot have a field which is not visible and it is mandatory. You cannot have that. So I've changed it to false.
if we'll make it none and make it true, then it will show error or anything like that?
Okay, so I'll keep this as it is. Save. Okay, I've saved this file.
Okay.
I'll go to import corporate data model. Okay, say import. What does it say? Invalid file format specified. Please ensure the import file format cannot have HRS field custom string 1 defined in HRS element. Location group to be set as required, as well as visibility to set as none or view. If you have set the visibility to none or view, you cannot have the field as required is equal to true. This
Okay.
is like a common sense where if you look at any, and I'll give you an example. If you look at any, TV shows or YouTube where people give you the recipes, right?
Yes.
They'll ask you to put everything. The salt, they'll say common sense. You want to have if you want to taste that food, you should have add some salt to it. Even if they don't mention it in the recipe, you'll have to put that salt. Yes or no?
Yes.
Same thing here. A field which is marked as none cannot have the required attribute as true. Now you have saved the file, but when you're trying to upload, system is saying that you cannot have this as true. How can you have a field which is not showing up but want to mandatory? What will user do? You will never be able to create a record there, even if it accepts. Right? So you need to set it to false. Now either you set it to false or you leave it blank. Okay, you leave it blank. This is also optional field. Only if it is mandatory, you need to make it
True.
You need to have it as true. Okay. So text fields or the fields attributes, we have maximum length, visibility, required, and then label of the field. Now I have made it false. Save. Now go back, browse, data model, import. What does it say? Corporate data model has been uploaded successfully. Now you go back to location group. You see here city is there. We'll just refresh the screen. Create new location group. You don't see the state field here. Okay, because I've removed that here.
Okay.
Let me do that in your instance as well. All of you will be getting access in this instance. Okay. Go to corporate data model. Export. Open. This data model 1458. Open with XML pad. You go to table view. Expand corporate data model. Expand HRS elements. You will only see the 17 elements in any instance. Done with labels, done with fields, right? Any field. Now in the pay range, you want to add a field, you expand the HRS fields here. Okay. So you see here fields, these are the fields. So all the fields that have the both, visibility as both is enabled. Visibility as none is not enabled. Now I want to add a field in pay grade. You expand the fields of grade. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There are 6 fields which are enabled, and there is one field which is view. There is one field which is set as view. Let me go and see what is that field. I'll go duplicate the screen. Where should I go? I should go to manage, organization, pay and job structure. Go to manage, organization, pay and job structure. Open the element grade. What does it say here? Have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7th field code underscore string. There is no field to maintain because this field is set as view. You can only view. If you have data in it, you can view. Can we maintain data? No, we cannot maintain data in it. Why? Because it is view.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Now here in pay grade element, you want to enable a field. You go to one of the existing fields. Let's say I want to have it as both.
So Venu, if strings are there and 20 kinds, we'll be counting 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, or some
Yes. No.
we have to count, huh?
ID would be with the number. But what you want to see in the front end, you will have to maintain that label here. Now let's say I want to have it the label as test, or I'll say it as
Okay.
text box. I'll put it as text box.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
got it.
then it allows you to input up to 256 characters. I don't want those many characters. I just want to have 10 characters. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll enable a field of date. Both. Okay. Label, I'll say, just put date. Okay. And save. You save your file. Now what did I do? I've enabled additional two fields in grade. Okay. And I've saved the file. Now you go back to your instance, import, browse, downloads, this one. And import. Okay. Now you go back to pay grade. Here, I'll just refresh this. Again, I'll click on pay grade. Now, what do we see here? We see now I've not changed anything for the existing fields. What did I do? I've added one extra text field called text box, which allows you to input up to 10 characters. More than 10 characters, it doesn't allow because maximum length I've set it to 10. And this is a date field. You can pick date from the calendar. Okay.
Okay.
And then if you want to make it mandatory, what should we do? You go and set it to true.
True.
Here, you need to set the value to true. You go put it as true. Okay. Go put it as true. Now, the same thing if we have to do it in, code, go to source. You see here, HRIS field, the attributes of the field. Max length, just maintain the number of characters here. ID, you will not be changing. This is the ID, so you will not change. Visibility is set as both. You want to change it to none, you go change it to none here. Required is equal to true.
True.
You want to set it to false, you can do that. Or you don't want required to be maintained, just completely remove. If you remove, that's optional field. And the label here, text box. Okay. Now you go to table view. What did I do? Required attribute I've set it to false or blank. Now this is your text box label. I've removed it. Now from the table, if you don't want a particular field to be mandatory, if I want to make a field to be optional, you cannot go and just delete it. You cannot just go and delete it. Okay. Why? If you delete it, let me save this. If you delete this, now I've deleted, I go to source view. What does it say here? Required is equal to here. What is it showing as? Required is equal to blank. Now, if you are maintaining the required attribute, it can be either true or false, but it cannot be blank. Now, if I try to save this file, and now this file is saved, let me go and upload. Import this file, import. It says line number 13162. This one, 13162. Okay. Column number 59. This is column number 59 here. Required with value blank must have a value from the list either true or false. Okay. So that's why if you are making any change on this attribute, you need to set the value to true or false, but you cannot just remove that code here. Okay.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me save this. Clear on fields? Any object, if you are asked to enable some field, disable some field, can we do that? I'll go set it to none. You don't want to see, just make it none. Okay. Now, when you are making changes, you try to make changes only to the custom fields, what you see here. Don't say that I'll go and change the external code to none. This is a standard field and it has got some significance. You cannot have an object without ID. This is mandatory. This is why do you see it as pay grade ID? Because here the ID is external code, but the label is pay grade ID. Every element should have an ID. System recognize the object with ID, not with the name or a label. You see here pay grade ID. Okay, you cannot say that I don't want external code, I will remove external code. Without external code, you cannot have an object. Or I cannot say that I don't want to see start date, I don't want to maintain start date. No, these are effective dated, and every object when you create, you should give the start date, effective date. Okay? Clear?
Yeah.
On the fields?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we are done with ID, we're done with label, we're done with fields. Smikey, Savarina, are you following?
Yes, I am.
Samson?
Yep.
Samson, how about you?
Yes.
Thank you. Please talk to me in between. Okay, at least if you don't have any doubts, say, I don't have any doubts. I'm clear. Okay, thank you. That way, I know that you are following. Okay. Next, after fields, we have associations. Now let's talk about associations. Associations, again, very important concept. Associations are the relationships. Association is nothing but a relationship. Meaning, if you want to use one object in another object, we use associations. Okay. If I have to give you an example, I have pay range. If I go to pay range, here I see geozone. Geozone is also an element. This is geozone. Geozone is also element. Legal entity is also element. Location, it is also an element. Okay. Now that means within pay range, I am using another element. Okay. So how are they linked? They are linked through associations. And associations can be of two types. One to one and one to many. One object can be linked to another object. Okay, one record of one object can be linked to another record of another object. Many records of one object can be linked to one object. One to many means many objects can be linked to one object. Okay, and if you see an object with association one to one, it shows as a field. Along with the other fields, it shows up as one other field. And if you see one to many association, you will have it as a separate section. It will show up as a separate section. Now in this example, if I go to pay range, here, this is also, pay grade is also an element. You see, pay range is an element, and within pay range, we have grades. We have legal entities. We have geozone. So all of these are, now these three are not fields. These are associations. These are associations. So associations, you will always see a drop down because this is an element, pay grade. Whatever grades that we have created, I see them here. Whatever legal entities that we have created, I see them here. And whatever geozones that we have created, I see them here. Now, these are associated with, these three elements are associated with pay range, and the association defined is one to one. And the location is also associated with pay range. The association defined is one to many because you see it as a separate section. So what does that mean? I can add multiple locations to one pay range. This is one pay range that I'm creating. And for one pay range, I can add multiple locations. I go choose one location, Delhi. I go choose another location, ABC 1, 2, 3. I go choose another location. So like this, I can select any number of locations. But here, I can only choose one geozone. I can only choose one legal entity. I can only choose one pay grade. Why? Because the association defined between these objects are one to one here, and this is one to many. Okay. Now if I go and look at that in the coding, so associations, we can see only 1, 2, 3, and 4, only for 4 elements. Success factors has given for 4 elements, but if you want, you can also associate. Now this is also not, frequency also doesn't have any association. Somebody must have added that. Somebody must have added this. You will see only 3 in the standard corporate data model. Now I go to, because I've seen the pay range, I'll go to HRIS associations expand. And you see associations 4. What are those 4? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So expand 4. Okay. So associations, always the ID is ID. For any object, when you are associating, the ID would be ID. Multiplicity can be 1 to 1 or 1 to many. You see all of these 1 to 1 and 1 to many. Which is 1 to many? Location is 1 to many. So what is location? You see we are using here the ID of the element, location. It is not capital L, it is small l. Pay grade, P is small, G is capital. There is no gap between pay and grade. Geozone, location, legal entity, and pay grade. These are the 4 elements which are associated with pay range, and one of it is 1-to-1, one of it is one-to-many, and all the other are 1-to-1. If I want to make some, let's say I want to make it as 1-to-many, I can do that here. 1-to-many. Sorry. If I want to make location as 1-to-1, make it as 1-to-1. But if I don't want association to be maintained, if I want to remove this, I cannot remove this from here. I'll have to go to source view. You see here a separate section called HRS association. Place your cursor on the association. You see association starting here, association ending here. And there are 4 associations made. Pay grade, legal entity, location, and geozone. For legal entity, required is set to true. The attribute is set to true. But for other elements, there is no required attribute. If I go here, legal entity is true. And the other elements, there is no required.
Not
But
mandatory.
it's not mandatory. Only this is mandatory.
Yes.
Clear?
Yes. So we can delete it there in this.
Yes. If you don't want this to be mandatory,
Complete
Just-
this section we need to delete, right? HRS.
either you change it to false, okay,
Okay.
or remove this attribute.
Okay.
Okay. Now you don't want some associations, you can just go and remove them.
Can you completely delete HRIS associations? There's
Yes. If
complete
you don't want, now here I've removed 2 associations.
Yes.
Okay. Association is there, but I've just removed the 2 existing associations.
Hmm.
You only have to. Now frequency, you don't need association actually. If I go here, source, somebody must have added this. Association, they have added all of this. I don't want, I can just completely remove the code. Or you don't want to remove the code, I want to keep this as it is, but I don't want system to execute this. Now if I go to frequency object here, yes, one association ID. So all of these are added. Okay. Now legal entity, the element ID is not correct here. Division element is not correct. Pay component. Okay. All of them are mandatory here. Table view. Let me go there and see. I think these are standard ones which are not required. I'll go here, source, don't want, just completely remove. You can just remove, or if I don't want this to be executed, so I can put this code. Okay. Now this is commenting of code. This is starting of commenting and ending of commenting. Now I want to start from here. And you see here, now all of this code, the color is changed because this is commented. And I want to end it here. Now, you see, the code exists in the system, but this is commented. This is the commenting. That means any code that you don't want to see, that you don't want to be executed, you can comment it. For commenting, you need to have this as the starting point, and to whichever point you don't want system to execute, you can have the end point as this one. So I've commented from here till here. Okay. This is commenting. Now if I go here to table view, Sometimes you may want to review it later, but now I don't want system to execute it. So in that case, you can just comment the code. You see here, association, I don't see anything here. There's no association for frequency now because you have commented that. This space, it shows as commented. Okay,
Okay.
clear on association? Now for location, we have association. What is the association of location? Yes.
If I don't want to see the association this part, then I can comment it. Or
Yes.
there is any chance I can delete it?
Yes,
Rather
you can.
comment-
Yes.
Okay.
Now here, it is association is there, but added as grade. Now this is commented. Instead of commenting, you go here. This is commented. You see, this is commented. Instead of commenting, you can just delete this completely. This is also fine. Okay. So this one also I'll remove. This is not required. Okay. Clear? Okay. I'll just save it. I've added another association here as a legal entity. I go to table view. You see here, one of the code which is commented, I have deleted it. And I've just added a new association. It can be either one-to-one or one-to-many. Okay. You need to enter the exact ID. Okay. So how do you know the ID? You need to find out the ID here. Okay. It is not the label of the element, it is the ID of the element. Clear on associations?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now associations, the basic associations or the associations are only defined or maintained at 3 objects: location, pay range, and pay component group. Standard ones are these 3. Okay. And now next is HRS fields again. These fields, these fields, these fields, these fields, all of them are same. Only they are duplicated in the table structure, but not in the source view. So if I place my cursor here, and go to source view, it takes me to some line 13036. Okay. Come back, you place my cursor here, again go to source, it is the same line 13036. You place your cursor here in these fields and say source, it takes you to the same line 13036. The fields are duplicated here in the table structure. This 1, 2, 3, and this one 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of these 4 fields are same. After associations, you have fields again. So this we have already discussed here. Then next is trigger rule. We don't do any trigger rule. This is one of the sample rule which is added, but we'll talk more about the business rules in the coming sessions. We don't do any rules in the data models. Fields again, same thing, because we have commented the line. So it is showing up here, comment. And then we have the last section, which is search criteria. Last section, which is search criteria. Now here, for the objects, if I want to search for any object, if I go here, this is to create a new object. Here, you create a new object. And here, the existing objects records can be viewed. Now I want to view a location. So location, if I know the location ID or name, I can search here. Let's say Delhi. So all of those locations with Delhi are showing up. Now what is this? A Delhi 2020 in the brackets, city null, country KER. Okay. Now, if I say 2020, system is is now showing these two locations. Why? This is the ID of the element. This is the name of the element, and city and country from the country specific corporate address. Now you see here, Washington DC 17102020. What is that? 17102020 is the external code. And then Washington DC is the label. And I can also search with country in Washington DC. Now this is D.C, right? So if I go and see D.C, this is showing up. Why? Because somewhere here you have put the city as Washington D.C. This is showing up. And the country is maintained as United States. That means for the location object, the search criteria is ID field, name field, country field, and the city field. These four are the fields that are used as the search criteria. Now, if I go to grade, okay? If I go and search for a grade, you see here, pay grade level, pay grade ID, and name. Now, if I see here, 2A. 2A is the grade ID, pay grade level is 1, assistant manager is the label. Now, if I search for 2A, what is it showing up? It is showing only one grade, which is here. Now, search here. It says 2A is the ID, assistant manager is the label is 1. So that means for this object, the search criteria is set as 3 fields. I go to another object, pay range. I go and see here. I go see here as ID and label. The standard search criteria for any element is ID and label. You can search with ID of the object and you can search with name of the object or the label of the object, either ID or name. Okay. Now another component, if I go to pay component, another element, A underscore HRA or A underscore basic underscore salary. Okay, annual max PC. So I'll put it as max PC. It shows me. Now what is annual max PC? So this is the ID and this is the name. So I can search with name and ID. So if I go to pay component here, against pay component, what is the search criteria that is maintained? In the table structure, we have fields just beside every other element because to add the fields to that section. Here, external code field is used. Name field is used as the search criteria. What is external code here? You expand the fields here, external code fields. This is external code. What is external code? External code label is pay component ID. So that means this pay component ID is used as the search criteria. Anywhere in the system, if you want to search for pay component, either you can search with the name or ID. So for most of the objects or most of the elements, the search criteria is set as external code and the name field. We can also add additional search criteria like pay grade. We have the level also. That's not the standard search criteria, but somebody must have added that. Okay. Now if I go search for location group, search criteria for location group. Two fields. What are those two fields? External code and name. Search criteria for GeoZone. Two fields. What are those? External code and name field. Okay. This is location. On the location, we see 4, right? Search criteria expand. You see search field 4. What are those? External code, name, corporate address city, and corporate address country. Because this piece of location is coming from corporate address. Business address, whatever that we have here, country and city. So that shows up. Clear?
Yes.
That's it. That's your corporate data model. One thing that we have not discussed is any text field, if you want to convert into a drop down, a pick list. One way that we have seen is if you have associated one object, it is showing as a drop down and it is picking the values from the drop down. We don't call it as pick list here. When you're associating another object, we don't call it as a pick list. That's an association. That's a different. But you can also add or convert a text field into a drop down value by adding the code pick list. Now, somewhere I have seen it. This is for pay component. Pay component, you expand pay component. Okay. Here, if you see, there's one attribute called pick list. What is this pick list? Somewhere somebody has added a pick list here. Tax treatment. Okay. So this is tax treatment. We have a pick list. What is that pick list? Expand. Something called tax treatment. Okay. Now, if I go to object pay component, here, tax treatment is showing as drop down. Cross up, no tax, regular. Where are these values coming from? How will I know? Or if I want to add one more value, how do I do that? So this is added as a pick list. And this is the ID of the pick list. Now I'll say duplicate and search for pick list center. There's a place where we maintain all the drop-down values, pick list center. Okay, go to pick list center, search for tax treatment. You have tax treatment here. Okay, let's see what are those values. Here, you have three values, gross up, no tax, regular. If I want to add one more value, test, create. There's one more value which I've added, which is T test. So if I go here, okay, just now I've added. So just refresh this. Tax statement. You see there is one more value called T, which is test. I've added. Okay. Any pick list that you want to use. Let's say here I have a pick list called gender. This one. Okay. So what values you have? You have male, female, unknown, and so on. Right? So I want to use this pick list in one of the fields. So let's say here for location group or for one object, any object. Okay. So location group, expand for one of the fields. Custom string 1, I want to use that. Custom string 1, I will first enable it. I'll make the label as gender. Okay. I've just added the label as gender. Okay. And you cannot add a pick list in, table structure. I'll save this. Okay. Where can I add that? I can add at the code level. Okay. I'll go to string, custom string 2, and this is the ending of custom string 1. Okay. Just before end of custom string 1, maintain pick list ID is equal to, what is the ID? Gender. And then just add this. This is the code that we should be using for pick list. If I want to convert any text field to a string field, a pick list, if I go to table view, now you will see additional option called pick list ID is equal to. Now here we see a pick list. Okay. So pick list, if you want to change, I can change it here. Instead of gender, if I want to use something else, I can use that. Okay. Now I'll save this file. Save this file. Go here, corporate data model, browse, select this, import. Okay. Now this is imported. I'll go back to location group. There's a field called gender. What is the gender? What is it showing? Male, female, unknown. Why is it showing these values? Because we have mapped it to the existing pick list called gender. Okay.
Okay.
Clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
So we'll
Yes.
stop it here for today.
Yes.
I want you to practice this in the weekend and come up with your doubts on Monday.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
So we'll
Tomorrow we
get the
don't have
access.
class.
We
Vinay?
don't have session on Saturdays and Sundays.
No, Friday. Tomorrow it's there, right?
Today is Friday, right?
Oh, for us it is still Thursday, right?
Yeah. So for you, then Friday evening and Saturday evening.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. We'll have Sunday evening.
Okay.
Venu will get the access today?
Yes, we'll be getting access.
Okay.
So we can log in and try to configure those in the system?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy weekend.
Yeah, thank you all. Have a great weekend. Bye.
You too.